What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Dad Needs to Talk. I am your host, Robert, and today I have a very special guest, my boy Steve from ITMOB, and we're going to be talking about all things BoJack Horseman. Let's get to it. All right. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the show. As always, if this is your first time here, welcome. But if you've been rocking with me for a while, then welcome back. You know the usual deal. If you are not already, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast wherever you choose, whether it be podcast streaming service of your choice as well as on YouTube. So, like I mentioned, we are starting the beginning of a new era. And hold on real quick. All right, so like I mentioned, and as if y'all have seen for the last couple of seconds, I have my awesome buddy, friend, pal. I call him the podcast whisperer, a fellow member of the Humble Dads, Wholesome Dads group, and one of the hosts and co-founders of Inside the Mind of a Blerd. What's up, Steve?
What's up, man? I'm glad to be here. I had the podcast whisper. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I know I'm on a few of them.
Yeah.
Quite a few. So, yeah, man. I'm glad to be here, man. We put up some Halloween decorations earlier today, and went to the library and got some manga. So, yeah, it's fun to be. It was a fun dad day today.
Yes. I ended up going and buying a manga today. I've had to put a little self-imposed restriction on myself because I got a little bit out of hand recently, so I was like I had to kind of rein myself in. But one of them that I did pick up today was actually I got it right here. It's called I Am a Hero.
Okay.
I know this one is pretty well regarded as I know it's kind of like post-apocalyptic zombie manga, and I've heard fantastic things about it because there's this lady I follow on Instagram that she's also been reading through 20th Century Boys like I have, and so she had posted an image of her manga shelf, and she has the full set of 20th Century Boys as well as the full set of Vagabond and I Am a Hero. And so she kind of was just asking people just like, hey, like which one should she read next after 20th Century Boys? And a good chunk of the comments was saying I Am a Hero. So I was like, you know what, I'm at least get the first one just to have for whenever I get that itch, it'll just be here. And plus, because I had messaged her and told her, I was like, you know what, I was thinking about getting that one. And so she might have mentioned that lately that one had been out of stock for a bit. So she was like, if you saw it, you might want to go back and get it. So that's what I ended up doing.
Convinced you to go on and grab it.
yeah. Because and especially because I was like, you know what, I'm like, it's zombies, perfect time for spooky season. So I was like, you know, I already kind of loosely have my October set out as far as like what I'm planning on watching and reading, as far as like not counting, you know, the seasonal and weekly stuff that I already watch and read already, just like extra stuff I'm gonna do. And so I have a handful of things, and so I was like, you know what, maybe I might find some room to slot that in, but I don't know. That's a pretty thick book, so I might not be able to just squeeze that in. Because I think, is this a 2-in-1 or a 3-in-1? Two and one. Okay, it's a 2-1. So,
Okay.
but but yeah, so kind of just kind of starting off, Steve. I guess a little for any listeners, watchers, or whatever. I guess just a little bit of our history. So me and Steve, we've kind of been floating around the same circles in the podcast community for some months before we actually fully made contact.
Mm-hmm.
I guess is the best way to say it. But one day I remember just like one day you had hit me up and you said that you had listened to the podcast
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
stuff, and then you said you enjoyed it, and we just kind of went from there because then you invited me onto one of your podcasts. So for listeners, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this a couple times before, but just to bring it up again. So within the inside of the inside the mind of a Blerd podcast, sorry, or ITMOB
Yeah,
for
good.
short. Uh, Steve has another very awesome podcast called Scholar and Scuba Steve that he does
Mm-hmm.
with his daughter. And so, yeah, so Steve had invited me on to do that
it,
episode.
it
And
just made so much sense because I was like listening to your pod, and I was all like, Dad, and I was all like, Dad needs to talk and all that stuff. And you was just talking about being a part of the family and being an anime dad and things like that. And I was like, I mean, that's perfect because me
yeah,
and Skylar always like, you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
talking like wholesome. We joke around and stuff
yeah,
like that, but like we pretty wholesome and it's a father daughter moment. And I was all like,
yeah,
man, I gotta get him on. So I
yeah,
hit you up. I wouldn't. I was like, man, he responded quick. Like some people still got me on red.
yeah, yeah.
They haven't responded. So like I was like, man, he responded quick. So
Oh
I had to
yeah.
get you on.
Oh yeah, and it was a super fun time because I know I know I said it at the time, but I still just kind of laughed because before I came on, I went back and I listened to a couple of y'all's previous ones, and I remember like the first time I heard Scholar talk, at first I was like, how did he say she was? Cause I think it might have been like one of like the very first ones, or I think it might have been the very first one, was one of the ones I had played a little bit of, and so when I was listening, I'm like, what? Because I'm sure Steve isn't that much older than me, because I don't think beforehand I don't think I knew how old you were at that time, but I'm pretty sure we were close in age, but I'm like, how old is this kid? But like I said, I think it's just a mix of the audio and stuff, whatever, and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so yeah, we recorded, did that awesome episode, and then afterwards, me and you stayed on and talked for like
Another
multiple
hour and a half, 2
hours.
hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
multiple hours afterwards, and it was kind of like that thing of like, okay, yeah, this is my dude.
Yeah. It was just there, man. And I was just like, man, I need like another dad, like just another really, because especially when I found out you was like in Fort Worth. So I'm like, you're not far away from me at all,
Yeah,
really. You like an hour away.
yeah,
So I was all like, man, and I was like, kids can get together. We can
yeah.
talk, you know what I'm saying? Just get together, talk anime and just normal stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah,
anytime, like, anytime really after I record, though, I usually like chit chat and talk it up, you know what I'm saying, for another
yeah,
30 minutes or so. But it was just a cool, like we was just flowing. I was like, yeah,
yeah.
man. I was like, he cool. So
Yes, which from that conversation, as well as just like all the other times we've just talked and interacted over the months since then.
mm,
I was like, it kind of made perfect sense that one of the very first people, or now the first person I have on my podcast would be Mr. Steve himself. Just cause like you said, like I said, it's like we kind of had like that natural flow, and so I was like, okay, you know what? And then we found a uh, a common interest in BoJack, Cause,
BoJack, yeah.
which just I guess let me just say real quick for listeners, just for like the general vibe of the show. The main topic, of course, is going to be BoJack Horseman. So when we get to it, I'm gonna say it again when we get to it, but that's gonna be the main topic. It's gonna be spoilers, everything. But yeah, with BoJack Horseman, I remember I was tweeting about it a lot, and then
Hmm.
you had a message on one of them. You was like, "Huh, should I check this out?" And
Yeah.
then you did, and then you blew past me because I was like, I think I was already like 3, maybe 4 seasons in at that point,
Mhm.
and I just remember it felt like I was Falcon and you were Captain America, and you was like coming up on me. I'm like, no, 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 and you was like on your left, and then you was like, man, I'm done. That was an awesome show. I'm like, man, what? Where did he come from? Dude came. I introduced him to it, and now he done just lapped me.
Man. So like that's how it is. Like I just when I get into a show, I just binge it, and I like, what I'm saying. I watch a lot of stuff. I mean, we do the Watchers Challenge. Shout out
Yeah,
to Panda and Tail.
yeah.
But a lot of people like right now, like I'm only on like 80 something anime for the year, and
Hmm.
people was all like, "Man, I thought you watch a lot of stuff." I was like, "Do you not know like what else is out like I watch a lot of stuff, and I was like, BoJack don't count as an anime. I
Yeah,
watched like I watched like all of the Flash. I was tweeting about that. I watched
yeah,
all the Flash, all the Green Arrow. I watched a lot of stuff
yeah,
because I got like so many different branches in the podcast that I do, where
yeah.
like we talk about just Western comics, where we talk about just these other TV shows. We
Hmm.
just do movie reviews and stuff like that. So like it's like a lot. And once I get something that I like, I'm like, man, I'm focused completely on this. So that's what it happened with BoJack. That
Yeah,
was because originally when you talked about BoJack, you was like, it's really good. It's got some deep issues in there and deep conversations in there. Whenever I would see BoJack on Netflix and was scrolling by, I was thinking, oh, it's like a Family Guy or something
hmm,
like that. So most of the time when I seen it, like without giving it a chance, I just
yeah,
was like, eh. I was like, I'm not giving that a chance. I was like, that's just Family Guy or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
And then when you had tweeted about it, you really got me on the bandwagon. Was like, yeah, man, they touch on a lot of things and all this other stuff. Then when we had a one-on-one conversation, and
hmm,
you were like, yeah, man, go ahead and check it out. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try.
yeah,
And literally, like the first 2 or 3 episodes, I was like, yo, this is way different than what I thought it was gonna be. Because
yeah,
I mean, you see a horse on the TV with humans, you just immediately think, oh, it's gonna be,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, something goofy and extra and out of the way. But it actually turned out to be really, really good.
Yeah, and you talking about like how you said like you kind of like you focus in on a thing or whatever. That's
Mhm.
kind of like my problem sometimes because like I'll do that sometimes, but I feel like I need to do it more because like prime example like with me reading 20th Century Boys, if I would have just like focused on reading that only, I would have been done months ago. But
Mhm.
I've been like slowly chipping away at it. Whereas that the same lady I was talking about a while ago that I was talking about with the series or whatever, she she's been flying through them because like I said like she posts on her Instagram or whatever like whenever she like finishes a volume or whatever. And I
Mhm.
remember when we were kind of like on the same one like 2 weeks ago. Like I had just
Mhm.
picked up volume 5, she had just finished it. So I'm like, oh okay, we kind of neck and neck. And
Mhm.
then this morning or yesterday, I looked at her thing again, and I think she's on like volume 8 or 9, and that's in a matter of like 2 weeks. And those volumes are not small. I think they're like 20 chapters a piece.
Oof.
So yeah.
Ooh.
So the fact that she's been going through like I said like 4 or 5 within the matter of like a couple of weeks,
Mhm.
so but yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do now is trying to get better about honing in like okay, let's kind of like get through a full series,
Uh,
and then kind of go from there. It's
I
tough though.
definitely I definitely have those moments where like I just go to different things, different
Hmm.
uh manga and different shows and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like there is certain ones like BoJack was just one of them where I was just like I gotta like I stopped everything I was doing
Yeah.
and I just watch BoJack. Another one there's a show called Warrior on HBO Max.
Hmm.
The kung fu type show
Ah.
or whatever, and it's really really good. It's got the dude that plays Sub Zero in
Ah.
Mortal Kombat. He's in there, and then they got the other guy is the main character from the GI Joe movie
Okay.
that just came out from Snake. So
Okay.
like it's like him, basically him versus the guy from Sub Zero. They're in two different like gangs,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's really really good. It's on HBO Max.
Hmm.
It's only 2 seasons, so
Mm-hmm.
you'll run through it pretty fast. But
Yeah.
like stuff like that. And then there's there's a webtoon that I just read because I'm a big Pokemon fan.
Yeah.
It's the one called the Lil Char in the Game.
Oh yeah.
Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a parody. Man, I ran through that. It's really good. Like it was
Yeah.
funny. So I was all like, man, I was like, this is a different outlook on it too, and it was funny and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had tagged me on a post you did for that a few days ago. So yeah, I had bookmarked it and added to my webtoon thing so I can make sure I kind of go through and check that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
It's a quick read. It's not like a whole bunch of dialogue. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you read Tokyo Revengers.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
much like that. How fast you can run through Tokyo Revengers,
Yeah.
you'll run through Lil Char in the Game just as fast, if not
Okay.
faster. Because there's some of them where they just it's just panels. It's not
Okay.
actually words and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. That kind of reminds me of shoot. There was another one. Let me see if I can find that. There was one I had looked up or I came across the other day. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because the art on it is kind of like what caught my attention at first. Here it is. The Uncommons.
The
Yeah, the
Uncommon.
Uncommons. Yeah, it got
It's on
it.
Webtoon.
Yeah,
About to add it right now.
yeah. It caught my attention. Cause I wish I could remember his name. One of the guys that works on it, he's a voice actor or he does like voice related stuff. Let me see.
Ooh.
Uncommons. Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, but I'll have to find him and send it to you. But cause once I tell you like who the guy is, you'll recognize him. Cause like I said, like
Is,
he does like a lot of like voice stuff.
is it Childish Gambino or it's the other one? I know it's two of them in our Twitter community that we interact with a lot. I can't remember the other one. I know there's one is Childish Gambino, and then the other one I can't remember his name.
No, it's Tony Weaver Jr.
Tony Weaver. Oh man, yeah, I know Tony.
Yeah, yeah, he I guess
That's his
for anybody
webtoon?
that's watching the yeah, kind of
Yeah.
see my light kind of blinded. But anywho, but yeah, he does some work on it, and that's how I had discovered it because like I said, I followed him on one of the platforms, and I saw a some artwork from like the most recent chapter or whatever, and I was like, man, that looks really colorful. Like, what is
Yeah,
this?
I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, oh, the melanin. Okay,
Yeah,
bet. Mm,
and you talking about like how kind of like quick some of like the Pokemon ones are. That's how that one is. Like, I scrolled through like barely like a few pages, especially like early on. And
mm,
I'm like, wait, I just started scrolling. It's over. I'm like, okay, on to the next one.
mm.
But yeah, what you talking about with the Pokemon thing just kind of made me think about that and so yeah, definitely check that out. And yeah, any listeners, watchers, whatever, I recommend it to y'all as well. Like I said, even though I've just barely scratched the surface of it or whatever, but just like the little bit I've read seems really cool. So check it out. Like I said, it's called The Uncommons.
Oh
So
yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Oh, you know what else you told me to check out that I
yeah.
finished too? Night in the Woods.
Ooh. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, you were telling me to play that, and I went on and played that. That was pretty good. that little girl was a little bad. I was like, man, she bad.
Yes, yes, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that was one I had thought about pretty recently. I can't remember. It was either something I was playing or watching or something whatever that triggered my memory of it, and I wonder if did Steve finish that yet or
Oh yeah,
not. So
it
okay,
was pretty
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it. I would say I guess like tangentially that also deals with some pretty heavy themes and stuff. Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
like you said, like with BoJack, when you just look
Mm-hmm.
at the cover, it's like, okay, you wouldn't think it got as heavy as
As
it
it did.
does, and same thing with Night in the Woods. It's like, okay, you just see all these little animal looking people on the cover and stuff, and it's like, okay, like
Mm-hmm.
what is this? And then yeah, they touch on some yeah pretty
Mm-hmm.
pretty heavy
Heavy
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, okay, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it. Trying to think. I guess I kind of want to roll into a little bit. Take a slight trip down memory lane in a couple of ways, and kind of start off with you and your podcast journey because I know you and the ITMOB team, y'all just celebrated the 1 year anniversary
Mm-hmm.
fairly recently.
Yes,
So
sir.
how how did I guess a two-part question, kind of like how did it feel coming up or reaching that milestone of like, okay, man, it's been a year. So how did that feel?
Man, it was a journey.
Yeah.
So, um, with the original It Mob, it was me, Cam, and Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we sat down at Applebee's one day, and we were like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, it was me and Cam. I've been knowing Cam since kindergarten,
Mm,
a long time. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's because we 33 now. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so one day we sat down. We was like, we should do a podcast and this, and that. And she was like, well, if it's just me and you, it's always gonna be just
Yeah.
us bumping it, and there's nobody in the middle to be that
Yeah.
divider. And then Bo, we actually went to high school together, even though I didn't know Bo, but
Mm-hmm.
we were on social media,
Yeah.
much like what I'm saying, me and you, and we were like always talking on there.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was just like, yo, man, would you like to be a part of the podcast? And he was all like, yeah. He's like, I guess so. We had never met or anything.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, we're gonna go to Applebee's and we're gonna discuss this. So we went to
Yeah.
Applebee's, and me and Cam was sitting there, and she was like, you see him? And I was like, nah. So we just waiting, and then he called, and he was like, hey, I'm at the door. And then we look at the door, and then so we had never seen Bo, but Bo's like 6'8".
Wow.
So when he walked through the door, we was like, "This you?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "This me. Where are you?" And then me and Cam was sitting at the bar, and we was like, "We over here." We waved our hands, and then he
Yeah.
came in. It was just really surprising because
Yeah.
like if you talk to Bo and you've seen our podcast, he's
Mm-hmm.
really goofy and silly and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So just imagine that, but at 6'8". So it's
Wow.
like,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
it was really funny. And so we linked up and we said we were gonna start a podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
then a whole year goes by, and
Yeah.
we hadn't started it or
Oh.
anything, and we were procrastinating. And then Skylar had for her birthday, she was like, "Can I live tweet?" You know what I'm saying, what we're doing for the birthday and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. We started talking about Bleach on Twitter and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
then I can't remember who it was, but somebody said you and your dad should do a podcast.
Yeah.
And she said, we're going to. Like without asking me, she just typed we're going to. So then I was like, they was like, all right, great. And then it started like a lot of people was retweeting it
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So I was like, oh man, we should start a podcast
Yeah.
then. So I reached back out to Cam and Bo, and I was like, "Hey, y'all remember when we were supposed to be doing a podcast?" And Bo was like, "Man, I just thought you didn't want to do it." Like, he was like, and I was like, "Well, let's do it." So
Mm-hmm.
the three of us, we started the pod, and then we had the Scholar Scuba Steve's like segment that we
Mm-hmm.
would do on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, like Abe was listening, and Abe was all like, "I really like y'all podcast. Do you need an editor?" And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "I mean, I don't have money to pay for an editor." He was like, "Oh no, it's nothing like that." He was all
Yeah.
like, "I want to practice my skills." And I was like, "Well, if you're gonna do that, then you're gonna be part of the pod if you want." You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? He was all
Yeah.
like, "No, no, no, I want to be in the background." And then one day I just pressed record while he was there, and he was like, "Really?" So that's how we added Abe.
Yeah.
And then Alpha, who was our video editor,
Mm-hmm.
he I listened to his he was in a podcast called The Nerds and Cool Kids. So I
Mm-hmm.
would listen to his podcast a lot, and I was following his Pokemon Nuzlocke
Yeah.
videos. So I was watching all his videos and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I listened to this episode, I listened to that episode. And I was like, I think I'm all the way caught up. I said, what days do y'all release? And he was like, we haven't recorded in like 2 or 3 years. Like
Mm.
we kind of disband.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I was all like, would you like to be a guest? And then when he was a guest, I just ran, you know how I
Yeah.
am. I'm like, hey
Yeah.
man, so you like doing this? I was like, you cool? And he was like, yeah, man. He was like, I was like, you want to do it like, weekly, join us? And he was
Yeah.
like, yeah. Now we got 5 members. And then so now and then on top of that, it's like it felt like I was assembling the team because now Abe is an editor,
Mm-hmm.
Alpha's a video editor,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what I'm saying. Bo does video games and stuff like that because that's what our podcast really is. It's just a everything podcast where we
Yeah.
discuss comics, video games,
Mm-hmm.
DC, Marvel, and stuff like that. But then out of nowhere, like just four more people. Black was like one of Abe's really good friends from
Mm-hmm.
been knowing him for a while, and he was like big on anime.
Mm-hmm.
So then we added him. He has a My Naka Mixer segment where
Mm-hmm.
we only discuss anime on that segment.
Mm-hmm.
And then Double O is somebody from Nerds and Cool Kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's Alpha's friend. Added him. He gives us a good touch on video games, things like that. So he helps with that because I game, but I don't game like Bo does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then now you added that dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
and then Hydro as well, video gamer, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So all of those, that gives you the gaming with a Blerd segment. You get the E3 segments and things like that, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to necessarily kind of pretend like I know what I'm talking about
Yeah.
because like I do play the game, but Bo and Double O and them they play like they run through 2 or 3 games a week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like I can't compete.
Oh yeah.
And then the last person we added was Crystal,
Mm-hmm.
who is really, really big on Twitter, and she makes the anime threads and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we just was like, you know what I'm saying, we need some more female representation,
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that. And she was all like, I thought I was under the impression I was just a guest, and I was like, nope, surprise. So now we got 9 total people. Well,
Yeah.
if you include Scholar, 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then I never like it's at a point where like some days where I can't be there or somebody else can't be there,
Mm-hmm.
we still have enough people that's more than capable
Yeah.
of carrying the podcast and things like that. So that is pretty much the story of ITMOB. Like in a year we got 10 people,
Yeah.
and like it's like the squad. And then on the 1 year anniversary, Alpha was all like, your favorite, anime is One Piece, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, give us all a straw hat. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, all right. And I did it. And then he was like, all right, I'll message you on the anniversary. So I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea either,
Mm-hmm.
like what exactly he was putting together. And then he
Yeah.
put together that video,
Yeah.
and I thought it was really dope. So
Yeah. It definitely was, and that is freaking awesome. Just the fact that, like you said, like y'all started out just like, hey, y'all just some old friends reconnecting at a bar, and
mm-hmm.
then here you are, the 1 year anniversary of the podcast, and went from a few people to a whole squad. You
Yeah.
assembled the whole Straw Hat crew in under a year or in a year. So
Yeah.
kind of giving Luffy a run for his money.
I mean, it felt really good because it was like, at first I was editing the podcast And if you ever go back and listen to some of our first pods, it's really terrible. The audio is awful.
Yeah.
So like just these people coming together and just like really helping me with this journey because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not computer savvy, things like that. So the editing was like on point. The video editing, I never thought about video editing or YouTube or anything like
Yeah.
that. And Alpha was like, "Oh, I got that. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we got a merch shop. I'm like, man, we got all this stuff that I never. I'm just thinking we was just gonna be getting on here once a week and
Yeah.
talking. Next thing you know, it's all this other stuff. So I wouldn't be, what I'm saying, anything without them. Those guys are really a big help.
Yeah, and that is very awesome to hear, man, because I guess like that's one thing I've also been kind of like seeing and just noticing, not just with my stuff, with the stuff that you're doing, but just like everybody within the podcasting community of just like constantly being motivated, being inspired
Mm-hmm.
by everybody doing so much cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, everybody kind of, we all talk in some form or another with each other, and we all help out each other, which, when I started podcasting 6 months ago, I had no thoughts or aspirations that I would be doing even a fraction of the stuff that I've done even in the 6 months, let alone, I'd be curious to, to do another check-in, once I hit that 1 year mark. But the fact that, it's like I've gotten to meet so many people like yourself and go on other people's shows and do this and that, and I have video and stuff for my podcast, and it is truly awesome and beautiful what can be done, both, when you kind of push yourself beyond, what you think, like what, what you initially think, or what your perception of what your limitations and stuff might be, as well as, when you network and communicate and reach out to people and stuff, because yeah, it is just super crazy.
Community, man. Like that's what I really love about the podcast circle that we have on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's like really in like competition with each other and trying to bring each other down or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's more so community. Like, hey man, I really love what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Could I, is there anything I could help with, or let me retweet it, let me quote retweet it.
Yeah.
Like people are live tweeting as they're listening to your episode, stuff like that. It's like a lot of
Yeah.
community. And
Yes.
instead of like, you would think like, oh, well, you got a podcast and you coming out on the same day as me. You know what I'm saying? You would think
Yeah.
people would just like start bashing each other or something like that. But it's more so just everybody is building each other up and trying to find ways to make each other better. And they're supportive. I really appreciate that, like within
Yeah.
our group.
Yeah, for real. And like you said, like with, because I guess because for me, because I've been listening to the podcast myself for a long time, maybe close to a decade now that I think about it, that I've just been a listener. And as somebody that was like on the outside just listening, I would listen to like a lot of podcasts that might cover a lot of like similar topics, a lot of similar shows or video games or whatever. And to me, it was all, for me, it was like, man, how does this work, like from their side? Like, okay, all these people talking about similar stuff, but now that I am, I guess, behind the curtain, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
and thing to where I'm now saying that, okay, yes, I might talk about whatever show, okay, which I know that's something we'll touch on in a bit. I might talk about Fena, Pirate Princess. You might talk about Fena. This person over here might talk about Fena, but we all might bring different perspectives or notice something that the other didn't, or have a different interpretation of a certain scene or something, whatever. And so that has just been like super awesome to kind of see, being within this community, within this space of just like yeah, like yes, there is some overlap with some subjects, but it's like
It's,
yeah, go ahead.
it's different angles and the way that
Yeah.
people interpret things, and even with like I mean, everybody's different. Even the listeners are different.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe someone that's listening to the podcast where we talk about Fena the Pirate Princess, and they're like, man, I can't believe they dropped the ball and they missed this part, this, and that. And then they turn around, they listen to your pod, and then you hit on this, and that. So
Yeah.
they're like, oh, okay. Well, you know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
everybody's talking about it, and then you get those different perspectives
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like with I feel like I like that, like there are certain big things that pretty much like everybody probably is gonna touch on at some point. Like of course like everybody at some point over the last couple of anime seasons talked about Tokyo Revengers
Mm-hmm.
at some point or another. But it's like okay, you might have been searching for discussions for Tokyo Revengers, but along
Mm-hmm.
the way, it's like okay, ITMOB, they also talked about this other thing that you never heard of. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Mike check waifu. They talked about this other thing you never heard of. Oh, Blaname. Oh, this, that,
Mm-hmm.
another, whatever. And so it's like okay, you might go to these podcasts for a specific show, but then
Mm-hmm.
walk away with so much more.
A new show that you never even
Yeah.
watched and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Recommendations.
Yes. And that too is like it's like with everybody kind of having like their own individual styles and tastes, it's definitely it keeps me just like my list of stuff to watch, to read, it is constantly growing by the day because it's like I might look at the list of anime coming out for this season and it's like, okay, here's my handful of stuff that I'm gonna watch, but then I see you tweeting about this other thing that, I saw when I was scrolling through the list, but I was like, and that doesn't look interesting, like you said, like with you and Bojack, but
Mm-hmm.
then you actually hear somebody that you know or kind of like trust their opinion on, and then it's like, oh, okay, him or her, they're talking about this thing that didn't even give a second look at. Maybe I'll go back and actually look at it or give it a chance or whatever. So,
Because especially like you trust, like after you listen to somebody's, podcast for so long,
mm-hmm.
you start to trust their judgment and trust their taste. So as soon as I was like, oh, BoJack, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try.
Yeah,
As soon as I heard you say it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try. I like it's popular. It's got 5 seasons for a reason. That's kind of
yeah,
what I was thinking. I like it's
yeah,
got 5 seasons, and now Robert has sat here and he done gave it his flowers. I was
yeah,
like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and see.
yeah. And so yeah, so that's it's just been so freaking, just been freaking awesome. And honestly, it feels like for me, like I said, like coming into this space, into this community, it's like for quite a long time, I had been looking for like a really good like anime podcast for a while because
Mm.
the last anime podcast I like really got into was shoot, I think it's maybe like 5-6 years ago now. Yeah, about 5-6 years ago. IGN had a podcast called IGN Anime Club, and I love that podcast. They were
Mm.
so awesome, but they weren't able to keep it going just because I guess the corporate people, whatever, was like, okay, because obviously they were kind of doing that podcast kind of like because they were passionate about it and they wanted to, but a lot of the hosts had pretty big positions within IGN and stuff, and so they were kind of always busy and stuff, and so it was like, okay, we can't, we just can't keep up, and so
Mm.
eventually they had to just stop the podcast because I was part of they had a Facebook group by the same name, IGN Anime Club, and so
Mm.
I was part of that group from day one. Like I was probably like one of like the first like 50 people in that group. But when several years back, when when they was like, hey, we're not going to do the podcast no more, they turned the Facebook group over to the community. So they let the community pick who they wanted to be the admins, the moderators, all that stuff, and then IGN walked away from it. We renamed the group, all that stuff. But
Mm.
me saying that basically, I've still been in that group. I've been in that group even to this day. But on the podcast side, I had found like a couple of podcasts, anime podcasts here and there, but none of them just didn't really hit
Hit.
or relate to me in a way. Like the only two kind of like anime podcasts that I listened to beforehand were the official One Piece podcast and then the My Hero Academia podcast that I've been on several times with Kendra. But those are only two, but those are two podcasts that are dedicated to specific series. And so aside from that, I've dabbled in a couple ones here and there, but like I said, all of them is like it's just something is not hitting all the way. And then when I came into the space, got into this community, and then started meeting more and more people, started checking out more and more podcasts, and then especially when I found out that I'm like some of the podcasts been going for like 2 or 3 years, like Blaname and the Kame House and 3 Weebs in a Pod, they all been going for at least like a couple of years, if not more. And it just kind of felt like that thing of like I looked underneath the rock and it's like, oh, here's all these podcasts.
there they are. I found them.
And then what was it? Actually no, the thing that like really kicked me off was I had came across Black Anime Podcast Twitter, and I found I looked through his website, and then that's how I found pretty much like a lot of people that I connected with early on. Was I was scrolling through and I'm like, it is like dozens now. He's like well over 100 podcasts. I think like 130 plus, if not more, podcasts cataloged in there. And it's like, and that's just podcasts from people of color. So I'm like, what? All this stuff has been here, and it's just kind of crazy that like it wasn't until I got in that I saw it, and so it, kind of like in hindsight, it's like okay, my search terms, I don't know what it was, but nothing like really just like bubbled up whenever I was searching for an anime podcast. But I feel like now there's been like a really big surge, I would say at least like in these like 6 months or since I've been in the space or whatever, of seeing just like a higher uptick of collaborations and stuff like of course like I know a lot of y'all have been collaborating stuff for even long before I came, but it just feels like it's ramped up even more in like the last couple of months, because I know I think a lot of us just kind of mindset started kind of like going in a similar direction, because around the same time frame I started seeing multiple people making posts about like, hey, I'm thinking about having guests, or hey, does anybody do interviews, or hey, this and that. And then now everybody's because I for sure been making my list of people I want to have on here and stuff or whatever. And and of course now I've been going on other people's podcasts. You've been going on other people's podcasts, and I feel like all of this cross collaboration is making everybody bubble up even higher on the various charts and podcast platforms, just because it's like, okay, everybody's talking about everybody, and so like it's kind of funny and cool and surreal in a way.
Is reaching back, we pulling each other back up. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody, it doesn't feel like anybody like trying to, I mean, if you are like up on that level where you're higher, but it's still like they reaching back into the smaller podcast and like, you know what I'm saying, helping each other out and shouting each other out, getting, I mean, if I have 70, 80 listeners and then I shout somebody else out that got 5, maybe at least 10 of my listeners go over there, and now he's got 15, and it's just building, and just like that's the whole thing, just trying to build people up.
Yeah, and that's kind of why. So the other day, was it Friday, Thursday? I think it Thursday was the National Podcast Day. I think that was Thursday. And so I know, of course, like everybody's shouting out everybody and stuff. And so kind of like what I ended up doing when I had did mine, I was like, okay, of course, there's several podcasts and stuff that I listen to all the time, but I was also like, well, I've seen them get shouted out a few times already, so I'm like,
Hmm.
you know what, like you said, like okay, I don't have like the biggest platform myself, but let me throw these other people in the mix because there's a couple of people that I know are fairly new, like a couple of them I mentioned right now. Shoot, sorry, like because she's this one she is like super new. Her name is Chelsea. Do 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 do. Hold on, give me 1 second. Nerding out with Chelsea. Yeah, nerding out with Chelsea as well as the Solar Scouts. Those are two that are like fairly new within the community. So I was like, you know what, I'll shout out, some of like the what quote unquote bigger ones or whatever that I do listen to, but I'll also throw them into the mix because I do enjoy their shows, and like you said, just like hey, more eyeballs because hey,
Hmm.
people been doing it for me. I've been saying my name got tossed in the mix a few times here and there that day. So I mean, that's like you said, just continuing to pay it forward, to help bring somebody else up and get somebody else in front of another set of eyeballs and stuff. So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah,
That's the whole thing. Is just I just that's how I am. I've always been one of those people that I like to bring people together. As
yeah,
you can see, I got 10
yeah,
people on my I like to bring people together. Like uh if I meet somebody that's really cool and I know somebody else that's really cool,
yep,
y'all need to meet. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's how I am. I'm like,
yeah,
y'all need to meet. Like, let's find a way. Like, even some of the earlier ITMOB episodes,
mm-hmm.
the collaborations were so wild
Yeah,
because it was like they were two people that had never like met, even though I seen them on Twitter and a Twitter.
yeah,
But I was like, let's bring them together.
yeah,
Let's bring this person and that person. And I was trying to get like these different collaborations and stuff like that. So that's what I'm always on. And I'm hoping that they always end up going well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
So that's always what I've been on, like trying to get people together and bring people together. And, you might learn something. Like, I'm always like, man, this person always be spitting facts. And then this other person always spitting
yeah,
facts. A podcast with both of them on it would be
yeah,
mind blowing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Stuff like that.
yeah,
So, that's my thing. I like to bring people together.
yeah. And so I kind of I want to ask you kind of like another question. Cause like I said, like we talked about a lot about like the community and like where you've been with the podcast. Um, so I guess kind of starting off, whatever. Like I said, I know I kind of mentioned a little bit at the top, whatever. But you being a fellow dad,
Hmm.
fellow nerd dad at that. How has that experience of being not just a father but a nerdy father?
Hmm.
Like how have things in your life kind of gone from that aspect of just balancing being a dad, but also like sharing your interests with the kids and things like that. So yeah,
So, funny thing. So, Scholar is the only anime head.
yeah,
I got three. My son, he actually likes Pokemon, and I've told him a few times he likes Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm like, that's anime,
yeah,
and he get mad. That's not anime, and he gets mad. But he's more so like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't want to do like sports. He wants to do like other different activities. Like, he
yeah,
does Cub Scouts. He does like he's really good at like puzzles and math and things like that.
yeah,
So he's playing game. He plays a lot of video games and stuff like that. And
hmm,
then my middle daughter, my youngest daughter, she is a big video game head too. Like,
yeah,
she's really big into video games. So actually, recently, the ItMob Twitch account, I
hmm,
keep forgetting to Twitch whenever I play the
yeah,
game.
yeah,
So one day, my son was playing the game and I was just being funny and I let him stream on Twitch.
yeah,
And it ended up having like 11 viewers. I was like, it's 11
yeah,
people in there. What? I'm like, what? Why y'all watch? And he's literally playing some game. I can't remember what it's called, but he was in a fishbowl and he was the fish in the fishbowl and it's rolling. And he's
hmm,
like trying to get through different obstacles. And if you
yeah,
fall off, like the glass bowl will break. And I was like, there's 11 people watching, and then I like, okay, are they just watching? You know what I'm saying? Because like I was like, whatever. And then I go to the comment section, and people were like, "You almost had it." And I'm like, "There's people really watching him
Yeah,
like play." So now, like,
yeah,
I just that's my way of involving them in a sense. I'm like, because my son and my daughter both, they're like, "Skylar's always getting to do this and getting to do that. Why come we can't?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm down for letting y'all do whatever." So
yeah,
now they just randomly go live on Twitch. And it's
yeah,
funny, they go live from the ITMOB page. So
yeah,
it's like, you know what I'm saying? People were like, some of the times you can't hear their voices when they're playing 2-player games.
yeah.
Like split screen, they won't let the
Oh
voices be
yeah,
on there. But if it's a 1-player game, it's usually my son.
yeah,
And people are laughing at him like the way that cause he's so into it and so enthused with it.
yeah,
But sometimes kids, I mean, you probably understand. Kids are like, there's two different ways. You got the kid that wants to be exactly like you, do everything you want to do, stuff like that. And then you got the other kid that as soon as you're like, hey, you want to watch Recess? Nope. And you're like, why? You didn't even see it. And they're like, nope, nope, I don't want to do it. And it's just that they're just
yeah,
being rebellious just to be rebellious because you like it. And then you got the other, like Skylar, I could tell her, let's watch Pepper Ann or Chalk Zone or anything old
yeah,
school, and she's like, all right, and she'll give it a chance. But
yeah,
my other two, I'm like, hey man, like I was like, y'all want to watch? But they were talking about Saint Bernard's one day. They just randomly got on the conversation about it. I was like, we should watch Beethoven. And they was like,
yeah,
what? And I showed them the trailer for it, and they was like, no thanks. And I was like, y'all not even gonna give it a try? And they was all like, nope. And I was like, it's just because I tried to introduce them to it. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? But
yeah,
had they discovered it on their own, they would have been all about it. So,
yeah.
but it's just
That's funny.
one of those things, like just with kids, and like you want to try to get them to do it, but it's like they're their own person. So I let
Oh
them do
yeah,
their own thing and stuff like that. But they have a lot of similar interests when it comes to games and stuff. They
yeah,
just anime isn't one of their things. It's just Scholar's the only anime head in
yeah,
the house.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, my with my kids, one of probably like one of my favorite episodes that I did was it was like a little review I did with it was my youngest daughter and my middle son where we had talked about the was it the Mitchells versus the Machines.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Everybody, like all the kids, we all watched it or whatever. And so afterwards I was like, hey, I was like, you know what, do y'all want to do a podcast about it or whatever? And a couple of them was like, yeah, and the other ones was like, nah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's weird like that because it's like I want to be like you, I want to do what you want to do, and then the other ones are like, nah, and you're like,
yeah,
yeah, it's like,
yeah. And then like my daughters, my twin girls, they I mentioned before how like they both were into art and drawing and stuff. And so, as matter of fact, earlier one of them she drew like she doesn't even watch the show. She knows what it is, but she drew Todoroki from My Hero Academia. She drew
mm,
like a head shot from like his neck up and stuff because she was like scrolling through like all these different like little things that she drew, and then I got she was showing me whatever, and I was like Todoroki. And so she's like,
how you
yeah,
know Toro?
exactly. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay. There's something there, and stuff. So, but yeah, it is it's an
That's
adventure trying to get them into stuff or figure out if they
that
want to be into
that's
stuff.
funny because there was they watch a lot of YouTube videos with what are they called it's funny, that's the
Oh,
YouTube
okay.
channel, and so they're called It's Funny, and they always play the JoJo's Giorno's theme in the song in the thing. And then
Yeah,
my kids was in there dancing, and I was like, "Oh, y'all like JoJo's?" And they was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Giorno's theme." You know what I'm saying? And I told them, and
yeah,
they was like, "What do you mean?" And then I showed them. They was like, "Anime." So now every time in the YouTube video when they're about to play the Giorno theme, they'll fast forward through it just because I said. And I was like, "Come on, man!" I was like, "It can't be that bad.
that
It
is
can't be
funny.
that bad."
They're
They just
like
skip straight through
anime. No, thank
it.
you.
Yeah, they're like, "Nope," and they skip straight through it or whatever. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, like, but the good side of it is like as far as like with Skylar like being super into anime, it's
Mm-hmm.
like we got the podcast, we talk a lot of anime, we watch a lot of anime together.
Mm-hmm.
Skylar's even like introduced me to anime,
Yeah.
like sometimes like you need to watch this or you need to watch that, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. And she'll be like, nope, you got to watch it. You made me watch so and so. So we do that. We went to DreamCon together.
Yeah.
She was Canary from Hunter x Hunter. She
Mm-hmm.
ended up going viral because of her
Yeah.
cosplay. Like everybody was like retweeting it and stuff like that. And I was all like, man, I ain't never been viral. And she goes viral just off of the picture. So
Yeah.
and we get there and everybody wants to take pictures with her. People was like, like taking pictures with her. They want some people that we haven't even met like have podcasts. It was all like, oh man, kids that love anime, we want to do a podcast thing like that. So she's gotten more podcast interviews
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I'm just like, man, so it's cool to see that dynamic where
Yeah.
it's like she's like embracing the anime culture. So all of them are like in there. And then you got my other kids where they're like more so into gaming and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Mm-hmm.
they're going on to try to do Twitch and do things like that. And it's cool just to see them grow in this different way where it was like with me when I was growing up, it was like sports. And it was
Yeah.
like that was it. And it was like I'm into anime and I'm into comics and things like that. But my parents was like sports. You play sports, and it was just
Yeah.
and it's like they didn't not necessarily a bad thing, but it was
Yeah.
like they didn't just make necessarily like say these are your interests. Let's water those interests. They were
Yeah.
more so like, hey, you're playing basketball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas like with my kids, it's more so what do you actually want to do? What are you taking interest in? And
Yeah.
I'm nurturing those interests rather than just being like, no, you're gonna do this because that's what I did. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really am enjoying that. Even like I got Skylar in the anime, but I'm not gonna just force my other kids to be
Yeah.
like, well, Skylar loves it and I love it. You gotta watch it too. So it's more
Yeah.
so just letting them be their own people and grow.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cause that's kind of how I've talked about it before, but that's how we kind of took the approach with our kids and stuff to where when the older four when they were all tiny, we
Mm-hmm.
we put them all. And this was when they were like, let me see, the older three they were 5 and 6, and then my middle boy he would have been like 3. But we put them all in well, the older three for sure we put them all in basketball and track at first, just because hey, just trying out something, just seeing. But after a couple of years of doing that, we ended up taking a break from it, and then we kind of started, like one by one. It was like, okay, hey, what do you want to do? And then that's
Mm-hmm.
how I have, now my older four, I have, 2 in track, 2 in basketball. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's because the hardest two to have that conversation with was my twin daughters, because, like, hey, they always together, always doing stuff together, but we kind of had a talk with them of like, yes, we understand like your sister wants to do this, whatever, but you don't have to. You are your own person. Like, yes, y'all are twins, y'all are probably gonna be together for a very long time,
Yeah.
but you can still have your own interests and your own friends and different stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's definitely been like a pretty cool to explore over the years. And then this year, I kind of invested real heavy into them with their art and their drawing, because I think when was it? I think it was like maybe like early summer or late spring, somewhere in there. They had kind of like went on like a drawing spree out of nowhere, and so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I was like, you know what? Let's, like you said, like okay, like let me look more into this. Let's nurture this. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have several artist people that I follow. So one of them I had reached out to, and so I asked her. I was like, hey, I got my 2 daughters. They're into art. what stuff can I do, what stuff can I get as far as like supplies and stuff. And she sent me a list of like, like specific types of mechanical pencils, these different types of like notebooks and stuff. And I went and got them like the next day or whatever. Matter of fact, I think some of mine went and got that same night.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just like blossomed from there, and just like I can already see like the improvement in the detail of like their artwork and stuff, whatever. So yeah, so I'm definitely with you, like you said, as far as like trying to like, okay, I see this interest, let's dive deeper
Water.
into it. Yeah,
Yeah, because like the Scholar is real big into art too,
yeah,
and she does a lot of like she do a lot of headshots,
mm-hmm.
and like I was all like, when are you gonna like what I'm saying, go ahead and do like full body and stuff like that? And she was like, oh, I can't draw hands and I can't draw feet, and I was like, all right. So then I found like YouTube tutorials of
Mm-hmm.
people drawing hands and feet, and I
Mm-hmm.
was all like, here, and I was sending them to her and stuff like that. So now she's been practicing on it a little more
Yeah,
and trying to get more into it. But she's really, really big on like drawing. Like she makes up these different characters and she draws like a lot of headshots and things like that.
mm-hmm.
And I was just like, man, because I used to draw as a kid,
Yeah,
but so I was really big on first when I was like in kindergarten through like second grade. I was a tracer.
yeah,
I traced everything. I was always tracing stuff. So then when I got to third and fourth grade, my mom started putting me in these art classes
mm-hmm.
one time, and she was giving me those how to draw Pokemon book, how to draw these,
yeah,
and it was they would do those steps where they draw the circle and then they draw the line
yeah,
and then and I was like, no, you're just supposed to just draw it. So I would just draw the character, like I would look at it and I was like basically photocopying it
yeah,
onto there. Become high school and stuff like that. Now I can't draw. Like
yeah,
in a sense, I can't draw unless I see it.
yeah,
It's like even to this day, like if you put a picture of SpongeBob in front of me, I can draw it perfectly. But
yeah,
if you like gave me a piece of paper and sat me down and was like, draw SpongeBob, I can't do it. Like
yeah,
it's like I can't do it. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have paid attention to those steps,
yeah,
how to do a book. Because I watched Scholar do it. She's using the steps and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, maybe they were on to something. I was like, maybe they were on to something, and I just was being rebellious.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. That. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Parenthood, fatherhood, man. It is. Especially being a nerd with it, it's definitely very very wild. Cause I'm curious to see my youngest boy Vash, like, cause he's already so heavy into like the gaming already, and
Mhm.
so he's 3, about to be 4. He's already been gaming for 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And cause I'm thinking, cause he was somewhere. Oh, my wife took him with her when my oldest son had a basketball game last weekend, and so she took him with her, and she
Mhm.
also took her tablet or whatever, so it had little games and stuff on it or whatever. And so he was just zipping around playing little games or whatever, and said somebody came up to her, was like, how old is he? And then she's like 3. She was like, and the guy was like, basically just being like what he's doing, let him keep doing it, just keep
Mhm.
encouraging and stuff, whatever. And then she made mention uh about how like yeah, he's big into like electronics and gaming and stuff. And then she was like, she said, yeah, she said my husband's in IT, and he was like, yep, I see it,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
yeah, just keep nurturing it and stuff. So yeah, so that's like it's just been very fun, like with him from like day one, just kind of like seeing uh
How
yeah, how he's kind of
it
grown and
grows,
stuff.
man.
Cause we have a picture that I look back on every so often, and it was basically like the time when I knew, like, okay, he's gonna be a
Mhm.
gamer, which I kind of like. It wouldn't be that like big shock. I'm a gamer. My wife's a gamer. The other 4 kids in the house play video games. More than likely, the 5th is probably gonna play a game too. But
Mhm.
there was a picture from when I think he maybe was like 6 months old, and he was sitting in my wife's lap while my wife was playing the game. She had her headphones on, and his little eyeballs was looking at the controller. He was like, just eyes bulging, looking at the controller. And so
Mhm.
I had that. I took that picture and I cherished that picture because I was like, every time I look back on it, like looking at him now, I'm like, that was the moment when I
Mhm.
knew when I saw, that he would have some form of interest in this stuff. So yeah, man,
Mhm.
it's pretty wild. So next, I kind of want to just touch on, and this was something that I told you I would bring this up, whatever, and just kind of so this next thing I mentioned, I think on last episode that was something I was going to start doing, but it's called Look Back. And so with Look Back, as the name implies, it's basically looking back on a fond memory. And so I want you to take a moment and think of two things, a fond memory both from real life experiences and then a fond memory from entertainment, whether it be, a moment in a manga or anime, a TV show, video game, whatever in entertainment. So tell me a couple of fond memories you look back on.
Man, where do I start? Uh, so let's see. One of the bigger ones that I can remember was like the introduction of the link cable. I don't know if you remember that,
Yes,
but
yes,
the Game Boys, I mean, everybody had Pokemon. Everybody did. And honestly and truthfully, I don't know if that was why the link cable was invented, but it
mm,
feels like that was to me, at least in
yeah,
my universe, that's what
yeah,
it felt like. So I had Pokemon Red, and then my cousin had Pokemon Blue,
mm-hmm.
and he was all like, "It keeps saying that my Pokemon won't evolve, or there's Pokemon that's on this one that what I'm saying I can't get. So
Yeah,
you have to get the blue one. I mean, you have to get the red one. So I got the red one. So we got them, but I was like, what was the point of us doing it? Like, we can't do anything."
yeah,
And then he was all like, "Oh yeah, in like a year they're coming out with the link cable." And I was like, why would they already add this feature
yeah,
before the link cable comes out? I was like,
yeah,
that doesn't make sense. So it was weird, but once it came out, it was like, oh man, I got to get this Gengar now. I got to get this Alakazam. And so we
yeah,
started making these trades. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we can battle. And it was like, it took the Pokemon cards to
mm-hmm.
that actual feel of we can actually battle against each other.
Yeah,
And that was like great. Like, that was like one of my best memories because I was real heavy into Pokemon, like real
yeah,
heavy. And
yes,
so like everything with the Pokemon cards, I had a whole collection of them. Like I had like the big old baseball binder and it's
yeah,
stacked this high, like full of Pokemon cards. And like so, like as soon as that link cable came out, I was like, yeah, man. I was all like, you got to come over today, and you got to come over every day. So like there was days where like when he couldn't come over, and I was all like, man, what's the point? Like
yeah,
now we just
yeah,
kind of sit here, and then we erased our files one time and we were like, all right, we're gonna start at the same time. So we were sitting next to each other and we erased our files.
yeah,
And then we were like, tomorrow when you come back tomorrow, we're gonna battle. And we like next thing you know, like my Pokemon, we didn't put caps on it. I don't know why we didn't think about that. But like I catch 6 Pokemon and I raise them to like level 15 or whatever,
yeah,
thinking, oh yeah, I got a solid team of 6 Pokemon. And my cousin came over with 2 Pokemon, and they were both like level 35. And I was all like, why did I think of that? So his starter Pokemon, and he had a Nidorino, and
yeah,
they just wiped out my whole team. And I was just like, but yeah, that's like one of my biggest memories. And then
yeah. With real quick with the Pokemon stuff, man. Yeah, I have a lot of good memories with that too, man. Cause like sitting on the bus, cause growing up, a lot of my time I would go out to my grandma's house out in the country. So that was a pretty long bus ride going out there. So I definitely remember like every day after school and stuff, like one of my best friend at the time, just like sitting next to each other on the bus, link cable, battling,
mhm.
trading. I remember like a couple of times, like even trying to sneak and do it in class and had like freaking cable going between desks, trying to trade and stuff. But yeah, man, those early days of
Pokemon,
Pokemon back in the day are so
man.
good,
And
so
then
good.
when they came out with the So on the Super Nintendo, they had like the Game Boy Super Nintendo thing. So like they had like a cartridge, and then there
You
was
mean
like a
on the
little
GameCube?
pocket.
Was it on
No,
the
it was on Super Nintendo.
really? Okay, that one I
Yeah,
didn't know.
yeah, I had the one on Super Nintendo, but it was like a little pocket, and you
Yeah.
put your Game Boy game inside the pocket, and then put that inside of the Super Nintendo, and you could
Mm,
play Game Boy games on the like big TV. And I
yeah.
was all like, once I found that, I was like, oh, I'm in heaven.
Yeah.
So I'm playing Pokemon on the big screen, thinking like it looks, what I'm saying. Back then, we didn't know any better. It's the
Yeah.
best graphics ever,
Yeah.
and like the way that it had it set up, there was like borders around
Yeah.
it. So like your game is in a square, but then there was borders around it, and whatever game you were playing, it was like a decorative border around it. So it was
Yeah.
like it was like all these different Pokemon around. I was like, oh man, this is the best way to play it. I can't even play it. I don't even want to play it on my Game Boy no more. I was like, what's the point? So yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll ask you this real quick before you go to your other memory. Um, or are you gonna be picking up both the Diamond and
Yes.
Pearl remakes as well as Legends
Like great.
Arceus?
Yeah, I'm getting all of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I be playing Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Unite like still like probably I probably Pokemon Unite probably about 4 nights a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I play Pokemon Sword and Shield sometimes just because I want to. I've used Rillaboom and I've used Cinderace, but I
Hmm.
haven't started a whole new game
Okay.
with what's the water one joint? I can't remember at this moment because I
Yeah.
never Sobble. I
Okay.
never play with Sobble yet, so I
Okay.
want to go ahead and see what it'll be like because even every time I do that as well, I choose a whole different six
Yeah.
Pokemon. So
Yeah.
like I want to see what other different Pokemon is out there, like in this new gen that I
Yeah.
haven't, and try that.
Yeah. And last thing I'll ask you about Pokemon or whatever, because it would be a crime if I did not ask you this. Both, what is your favorite Pokemon, and then what is your favorite Pokemon game or generation of games?
My all-time favorite Pokemon, and it's my all-time favorite Pokemon because of like battles with link tables and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It was Muck. Muck
Yeah.
is my all-time favorite Pokemon, and it's because I would do a combination of minimize and toxic. So I'd poison you, and then I would just basically let you start to die,
Yeah.
and then I minimize like 2 or 3 times, so now you can't even hit me.
Yeah.
So now, and the poison is taking effect, and then on top of that, in Pokemon Red and Blue, Muck used to learn a variety of attacks. So
Yeah.
like I would teach him Fire Blast from a TM. So he's got Toxic, Minimize, Fire Blast, and I would do Mega Drain.
Oh.
So it was like so it was like you put a grass Pokemon out there, you know what I'm saying? I'm not only the poison is killing you, but I'm also doing Fire Blast.
Yeah.
And then you put the other Pokemon out there, if you just so happen to hit me from the even though I minimize, I do
Hmm.
Mega Drain and get my health back.
Yeah.
So it was like there was no losing pretty much. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I pretty much use Muck all the time.
Yeah.
And then I guess my favorite Pokemon game. This is tough. Uh Pokemon Crystal.
Yes.
Yeah, Pokemon Crystal is my
Yes.
favorite one. That is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I don't even think it's I think yeah, that's definitely the one I think I
Yeah.
like Pokemon Crystal was just one of the ones where it was just like that's when you start getting the different natures and things like that. You could plant berries and do the different stuff. So you go back through the different trees.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the first one where you got the phone numbers too, where
Yeah.
you could get a player's phone number. Yeah, that one was like the best innovative one, the most
Yeah.
innovative one. They started taking Pokemon to a different level. I was all like, yeah, this is the one.
Yeah. Yeah. Someday maybe I'll do this around the time maybe I'll do this around the time when Pokemon Legends is coming out in January. Cause I have to talk about my memories and stuff with especially with Pokemon Crystal. But I think I might have to do something. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something around then. But all right. And what is your other memory?
Oh, my other memory is just the 90s in general when
Yeah.
we started to get older and we started to get out of that cartoon phase.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, like we still were cartoon heads, I think we all were,
Mm-hmm.
but I enjoyed when they would have all that Keenan and Kel, things like that, because it made you feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm growing up.
Yeah.
And this it was just something different. And then everybody tried to mimic that, you know what I'm saying, with Disney and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just that little era when all that Keenan and Kel, I think it was Cousin Skeeter and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Whole little era right there was just like for us. Like
Yeah.
it felt like, oh yeah, I'm 12, I'm 13 years old, and it gave you that like, I'm an adult
Yeah.
now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
kind of, and it was like for us, and I think that really shaped a lot of my personality in a sense of
Mm-hmm.
just with all the goofiness, and you know what I'm saying, just
Yeah.
and they had like so much variety of people
Yeah.
on all that. It wasn't just like straight narrow blonde haired blue eyed girl or
Yeah.
straight dude, just the token black guy where he wants to be super hip and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It was like a variety of people. There was, you know what I'm saying, like Lori Beth and Keenan. They were
Yeah.
bigger people, and then you had like kids that were younger kids. They had like, I think one of the dudes, Leroy, he was like 11, while
Mm-hmm.
you had 16, 15-year-old Keenan and Kel. So it
Yeah.
was like that variety of like everybody kind of like getting together, shapes and sizes, different personalities. And
Yeah.
they were just wild. And you know what I'm saying? Like it I say this a lot, like Keenan and Kel and all that was our In Living Color and our
Yeah.
Martin
Yeah.
for, you know what I'm saying, for kids, because it was just
Yeah.
like it was just our thing. Everybody was talking about it when you were our age. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
go to school and you're like, did you watch Kingdom Gill and all this other stuff? Like, so that was a real huge staple on my childhood memory.
Yeah, man. Yeah. 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 That. Yeah. I agree with you. So I'm up here having flashbacks myself of just growing up in the '90s, like you said, especially like you said, like once we got to like that era of it. Yeah. Just so much good stuff just all around. Like I said, like all those shows you mentioned. Um, I think like probably because around that time too, that's when I would have been getting into like deeper into anime at that time too. Aside from the
Mm-hmm.
standard, just like the Dragon Ball and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. I had been watching up to that point. That's when I started like Death Note, and it's pretty much like the late night Toonami lineup back around that era and stuff too. But yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, like what you said, like with Kenan and Kel them and things of that nature, kind of being our generations or our age ranges, Martin and things of that nature. So, cause
Mm-hmm.
just really cool just to see people in close proximity, or just I guess like relatable people on
Mm-hmm.
TV and stuff.
You see somebody and you like, that could be me.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like on TV. So that's what I really enjoyed about it, because it was just like they had that for us. And I don't think anybody else was providing that.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like that was the first time we really got that.
hmm yeah, and you kind of talking about that. That's kind of one reason why I had aside from just podcasting in general, I think that's also kind of like why I wanted to at least add some type of like video component to it, just like you said, like just for like the whole like visibility and like, hey, people can hear my voice and know like, okay, this what this person says that they're about, but adding in the video element as well, like, oh, okay, now I see the person, and basically, I feel like it kind of like creates that extra layer of connection and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
for people that might be looking for somebody that either looks like them, sound like them, or
Familiarity,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, man, those are very both of those was very some very cool, very dope uh memories. Like I said, like two things I definitely link cable with Pokemon and around Pokemon, and then the
Mm-hmm.
'90s.
Yeah, yeah, just really the 90s in general.
Yeah. So I want to ask, but before we start heading into the BoJack stuff, um, what has been some stuff lately you kind of like you've been into watching, reading, things of that nature that's like what is kind of keeping Steve coming back every week?
Ooh, let's see. So right now, Doom Patrol is going on. The
Mm,
season 3 is just going on. So I'm loving. They have like the first 3 episodes on HBO Max.
okay,
Um,
I haven't checked that out yet.
Doom Patrol. So the first season is really good. The
Hmm.
second season was more so you could tell that they were molding it for season 3.
Gotcha.
So it does have like a lot of pieces that they're putting together, a lot of dialogue and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
season 3 should has been really good so far, so it's paid off. And since you haven't watched any of it, you can kind of just run through season 2,
Yeah.
whereas I had to watch it week to week. And but like I still enjoy season 2. It was
Yeah.
nowhere like that first season was just great.
Yeah.
Um, another show. Oh, what is it? Is today the third? So today actually no, today's the
The
second. So
second
tomorrow is the third. So that means Scissor 7 season 3 is coming out. And I
what
can't wait for that.
question? What is that? Because I've heard people, I've heard that name, but I have no context for what that is.
So it's an anime that's on Netflix. And
Okay.
the episodes will go really fast. It's about 15-minute episodes.
Hmm.
So they're really fast, but it's a comedy. And it's
Hmm.
basically the main character is a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And he's a hairdresser, but he also wants to be a ninja.
Huh.
So yeah, so he's like basically I think at the first episode he's like number 463 on the all ninja list or
Yeah.
whatever. So and it's basically like him just basically trying to do ninja going on missions and things. He's like pretty much failing on them and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it's hilarious. And then I can't spoil anything, but like
Yeah. I
later
got you.
on, you find out things about him that's actually really interesting, and
Hmm.
then season 2 more so takes off into a more of an action
Hmm.
pace. Like it still has the comedy in there. Like season 1 is clearly just it seems like it's all comedy.
Yeah.
Whereas season 2 they have like more action in there. He's going on more ninja missions, and it still has the comedy in there.
Okay.
But season 2 was like peak.
Yeah.
Peak
Okay.
season 7. And then season 3 should be coming out tomorrow. So
Hmm.
I'm super hyped for that because that's like as far as like comedy anime,
Yeah.
that's my number one. That's my all time favorite comedy anime. And
Okay.
that one and then Gintama is close second. But
Uh,
yeah, Scissor 7 is just
see. Hey, okay. So I don't know if Mr. Google is listening to our conversation or Mrs. Netflix. So I was opening up the app on my phone so I can go and add it. And I was on the app earlier. This was not here. First
it's
thing
on
that
the
pops
home.
up, homepage,
Yeah, it's coming
Scissor
out
Seven.
tomorrow.
I know, but
It's
I was like, what is the odds? They were like, hey, you don't even have to look for it, Robert. Here it is, right here.
Yeah,
So
it's coming out tomorrow. So they
yeah,
already they hyping it, man. I can't wait. Um
okay,
that's like my favorite comedy anime. And then it's like I always say it like this, like I feel like you know how like they target certain things for boys and they target certain things for the girls.
yeah.
Certain things. I feel like Aggressico was more so target towards the girl audience,
Hmm.
and then the boy audience was Scissor 7.
Hmm. And
So
Aggressive, that's another one I need to watch. I heard a lot of people say that they liked as well.
their new season is coming out in December. I think December 20 something. I can't
December 16th. I
16.
went to
Oh,
the page and it was like season 4 coming December 16th. So
yeah.
I'm adding
See,
that as well.
yeah, Aggressico is really good. It's a slice of life,
Yeah.
and it Aggressico is really good because of the stuff that, and it's comedy as well. But
Yeah.
it's like as an adult, like we know why, you
Yeah.
know, the things
That's
that we can.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember. It's somebody or somebody within our circle was talking about them relating to it in relation to like the like working and stuff, whatever.
Because
So
like
yeah,
there's times where she gets mad at her boss.
yeah,
She'll be like, "I'll be right back," and then when she says, "I'll be right back," they'll show her. in the bathroom and she's like screaming real loud and like, and, and she like you can just see it's so many aspects that's really really relatable. So
Yeah.
Aggressive is really really good, man. Like
Okay.
it's real
That's
good. I think you'll enjoy both of those.
yeah.
Like,
Huh. Okay. Cool. So hey, got a couple more added to my list.
and then week to week we watch. I'm a part of Careful for Spoilers.
Yeah.
So we do the Disney Plus reviews, Marvel and DC reviews. So right now we're doing What If, and
Yeah.
it's been really good. What If,
Yeah.
especially that last episode with Ultron.
Yes.
Mm,
I had watched that last night. So my wife was getting ready to go somewhere, and so I was watching it. You know, like I said, she was getting ready and stuff, whatever. And so I had showed her a clip of the beginning because I was like, okay, like this is so dope. It was basically like when Hawkeye and Black Widow when they were like first taking out the robots and stuff.
mm-hmm,
Uh, and so I was like, hey, come look at this. And so she was like, whoa, okay, that's pretty cool.
mm,
And then next thing I know, she's like standing off behind me, like watching more and more. Then eventually she comes and sits down, and then the whole time she pretty much ended up watching the whole episode with me because she was like, dang it, Robert, I'm supposed to already be gone. You got me up here watching good stuff, and then of course she got mad because of how it ended. She's
mm.
like, see that's why I don't watch stuff with you because you always get me pulled into something, and then it just
Mm,
ends. So yeah, but yeah, that episode was
amazing,
freaking
amazing.
good.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that they kind of like reeled you in too with it, and it's like it's so the good thing about it is like if you're watching all of the Disney Plus shows,
yeah,
all of this stuff is starting to make sense. They're tying it in together and stuff like that.
yeah,
Because in the last episode, the Watcher when you know what I'm saying when
yeah,
Ultron shows up at the end of the Thanos party,
yeah,
and then the Watcher goes, "Uh-oh." You know what I'm saying? Like, well, he not supposed to be here.
yeah,
And then in this episode, there's not like a uh-oh moment. There's more so like his first introduction into Ultron.
mm-hmm,
And if you've been paying attention to Loki,
mm-hmm,
um, Kang the Conqueror is
yeah,
in that position as well as the
mm-hmm,
Watcher. He's not. He's obviously over the Watcher, but he's in that position as well.
yeah,
And Kang the Conqueror literally touches on the fact that he can watch. He's watching everything at one time. He can
yeah,
watch the past, the present, the future. Everything is happening at one time, and he's watching it.
yeah,
So that literally, when the Watcher goes, "Uh oh," that's a different time period, and he's
yeah,
watching it and it's unfolding at the exact same time
yeah,
as this episode. So it's like all these little bits and pieces that you can like pick apart and stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
I'm loving the fact that they're doing it like that, man.
yeah, and I feel like each episode is good in its own right because I feel like like a lot of like different series or whatever. There's maybe at least like an episode here and there was like they probably could have done without that episode, but I feel like just about every episode of What If has been just freaking dope. Because so for me, I'm not too big and deep into like the Western comic stuff, so a lot of things, I know that a lot of these things that they're showing or whatever,
Mm,
I've heard of them in some permeation or whatever over the years, just because being within nerdom, you're
mm,
gonna at least like you know you're gonna get hit by with some drive by information.
mhm, mm, mhm,
I might not have full context for
mm,
everything, but but like Kang the Conqueror, don't know too much about him, but I know of him, and
mhm,
and the different alternate versions of different people or the different alternate realities and stuff, whatever. I know of them in
mm,
some form or another, but it's been just very awesome, just like okay, actually getting to see just different stuff. So yeah, it's yeah, man. Every week it's just been super
mm.
good.
Good. Yeah, I for things that I don't know and things like that, I just go on YouTube, type in comics explain,
Yeah,
and type in whatever character you want, and it seems like it seems like he's done a review on every single character and
Yeah.
that's ever existed. Like it doesn't matter who you type in, he has a video for it. I'm like, it's so crazy. It's like how do you already have a video for this
Yeah.
person? Like it's crazy. So that's like my go-to if there's ever a character that I feel like I don't have enough information on.
Mm-hmm.
I do like when I was watching The Flash,
Mm-hmm.
I've known about Godspeed and I know about Zoom, Professor X, and things like that.
Yeah.
But I never heard of Savitar.
Yeah.
I typed in Savitar on Comics Explained. He had like 5 videos. I was like, what? I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So it's the last one that hey, we have to at least touch on a bit but before we move into the full BoJack thing is Fena Pirate Princess.
Oh, yeah.
So I had messaged you earlier, whatever. I was like, man, I wish Fena didn't come out like freaking like middle of the night.
Tonight, because we would be on the finale.
Yes, but regardless, how have you been liking Fena? What are your thoughts and stuff?
So the animation is amazing in Fena. Like,
Yeah.
and I think I told you about how I found Fena was I got YouTube TV
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and they played commercials or whatever,
Yeah.
and we were watching Modern Family. So me
Yeah.
and my wife were watching Modern Family, and we're watching it, and then all of a sudden the commercial comes on for Fena the Pirate Princess, and I was like, huh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then we watching more Modern Family, and then it comes on again, and I was like, huh. I was all like, that actually looks pretty good. And then by the fifth or sixth time, because we binge in Modern Family. So
Yeah.
about the fifth or sixth time we done watched the Fender Pirate Princess commercial, I'm like, I'm sold. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't wait till you fall asleep. so I should watch it. And then I started watching it. I love the main character. I like how she is. She's cool. She's trying to learn, and it's like you sitting there watching her develop and things like that. Everybody's trying to protect her,
Yeah.
and between her and the twins, I don't know who I like more as like my favorite characters, but the
Yeah.
twins are really dope as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so far, I'm loving it. I'm loving the story. Trying not to get into spoilers, but
Oh no. So
I
I'm about to say like so. Feel free to talk spoilers. Yeah.
okay.
You're fine. Yeah. We can talk
Oh,
spoilers.
okay. So yeah, like when she originally was taken away, and
Yeah.
then they come and rescue her, and like she's like they're literally pretty much like letting her know like you're a princess, like you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like you're and so she wants to be trained by she wants, and then the kid that she grew up with or whatever ends up
Yeah.
being the other guy on the boat or whatever, and she pretty much is clearly in love with him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it's really unfolding to be something special, man. I really am enjoying it, and it's the first Toonami exclusive anime, like Toonami
Yeah.
Crunchyroll exclusive
Yeah.
made. So I was like, this is actually, what I'm saying, it's a good sign, and it's a sign in the right direction. Like Toonami is like about to like start adapting their own anime. That's
Yeah.
like really
Yeah,
special.
that is definitely like super dope to when I found that out too, because it's like okay, if this is one of the first things y'all are starting out with, okay,
We got a lot to look forward to.
yeah, and I don't know if was it just because of with it coming out, or with it primarily aimed on Toonami or whatever, or what, but it's like this thing completely went past my radar until I started seeing. I don't even remember like what fully got it on my radar. I'm trying to think. More than likely, probably somebody I follow retweeted something, or actually no. I think actually it might have just been when it popped up on Crunchyroll, because I was binge watching something weeks back when I first found it, and then I was like, "What is this Fena thing that popped up?" And then I started looking into it. I was like, "Okay, Pirate Princess," and yeah, that's one thing I like about this type of stuff, is just stumbling across good and unexpected stuff, because it's like okay,
You
we
have no
have
expectations, and
yes,
it's beautiful every time.
yes, so
Um, That's how it was when I first watched iTaxi. I had no expectations for it. I kind of just was on Crunchyroll scrolling, and then it was like seasonal anime, and I was like, it's a walrus. And then I was like, you know what? I was like, let's just click it just to see what it's like. And when I clicked it, the opening played, and the
Yeah,
opening was like, all right, I'm hooked.
yeah,
Like I didn't even watch anything. It was just the opening and like the animation from the opening, like showing kind of like what you kind of in for.
yeah,
I was like, all right, I'm sold already. So I watched. I ran through iTaxi. I was week to week with iTaxi, and
yeah.
another one that I wasn't expecting was Undead Unluck.
Yeah.
That one just it came out of nowhere. And I read that one and I was like, yo, I can't put this down. So
Yeah, man. You already know. I have to catch back up on Undead Unluck. I'm a bit behind, but
mm,
I'll go ahead and put this out there now, cause I had thought about it, but I think I for sure, assuming I don't have you back on beforehand, I think when it reaches chapter 100, we gonna
okay.
do a Undead Unluck
Review.
only episode, just kind of just looking back on it with the 100 chapters because I
We close.
cause I think
Mhm.
I think cause y'all are what, it's like almost 70,
70 something. Yeah.
or it's pretty
Let
close
me,
cause
let
I
me,
know
let me find that for sure.
cause I know cause I know Mashal is like 72, 73, and I know Undead and Luck they're kind of like neck because they came out around the same time, so I know it's not too far
Mm,
behind. But yeah, because that's something that I kind of want to maybe start doing. Because well, I did it with My Hero Academia Vigilantes when that
mhm.
reached chapter 100. I did an episode just only talking about vigilantes, and so I have some other series that are kind of like coming up on
Undead
100.
Unluck is 79, by the way. Go ahead.
Oh man, okay. Okay. So then that's ahead of Mashal then by a couple. I knew one of them was ahead of the other by like just like a couple. But okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll have to. Oh, okay. Never mind. They only like one chapter apart.
Mm, yeah.
But
Like I think they were probably pretty much introduced in the same like
yeah,
week and everything like that. And I think with taking off, taking a week off or something, week break, that kind of
yeah,
like yeah.
yeah. But okay, all right. So hey, you heard it here, folks. Whenever
I'm
Undead
down.
Unluck reaches
That's like my favorite thing right now, man. Like
yeah,
I can't wait for it to get an anime adaptation.
yeah.
I'm gonna
So
be week to week doing a review on that data. Look, I'm gonna be like, hey, let's talk about it.
yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited for that because yeah, that one, I think for me it kind of took a little bit before I kind of like got into it because like those first few chapters or whatever I was like okay, this this zombie dude, he's half naked or mostly nude a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but then like once it kind of like got his hooks in me, it got his hooks in me and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so okay, so yeah, y'all heard it here, folks. Look for it probably because this is what chapter 80 now. So within the coming months,
Yeah.
we'll do something around that. So uh, so let's